You are tuned in to the Post Route with your host, W. Earl Kitchings.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Post Route, the show where we dive deep into conversations with Black quarterbacks, both past and present. I'm your host, W. Earl Kitchings, and as always, our show is proudly brought to you by Quarter Phi Back, the preeminent fraternity for Black quarterback and home of the prestigious Bill Memorial Trophy, the only national award that honors both the top HBCU quarterback and the top black high school quarterback, black quarterback from high schools around the country. So we are always honored to bring that to you. If you enjoy our show, hey, you want to help us out? Do a couple of things. Support us. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, tap the notification bell so you don't miss any of the episodes. Join us every Monday night here at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for more phenomenal conversations here on the Post Route. Well, I'm going to give you one of my favorite quotes. And this quote has been with me for over 15 years now. And it comes from one of the greatest, if not the greatest, collegiate basketball coach to ever coach the game, John Wooden, an awesome guy, 10 national NCAA championships back-to-back. But one of the things he said, be more concerned about your character than your reputation. More concerned about your character than your reputation. And I say that as a prelude to my guest tonight because we are talking about one of those kind of guys where he is just a phenomenal guy in his character. All our guys that come on here, but I want to say that this guy definitely stands out because when you have to balance situations, transitioning from one cultural thing in life, societal thing in life, and going to one situation and then transitioning to another and making that balance work, you definitely are on the right path. And when we talk about in this day and time, and I'm sure he'll bear this out, leadership has to do with quality, and quality leadership is what coaches are looking for, especially in the quarterback, man. You a quality guy. You got some coachability. You know, as they say, you are coachable. You are a leader. You can think throughout the process of games and situations. If you can just do a lot of things that raise your teammates' bars up, to raise them up to being character-driven individuals, not reputation. Because, see, your reputation is who people think you are. That doesn't last too long. Tough situations, your reputation won't mean a whole lot. But, man, let me tell you, your character will carry you for a lifetime. And in understanding that dynamic, understand this too. It's not as important of who knows, who you know, but who knows you. That's a very, very serious character trait to have. Who knows you and how will they speak about you? Well, tonight, my guest, hailing from the metropolitan area of, Atlanta, Georgia. You know, we get a lot of guys from that metro Atlanta area. We are proud to say that these guys have totally bought into the Post Route and Quarter Phi Back. He was an outstanding quarterback in Riverdale, Georgia. He took his talents to Wofford College up in the Carolinas, had a great career there, and then he has transitioned into now being a collegiate football coach. And we are just so blessed and honored to be able to have him because during his time at Wofford, led them, the Terriers, to 3 SoCon Conference titles and 4 NCAA playoff berth between 2016 and 19. So he's a quality guy, and he is definitely one of their top all-time quarterbacks at that college. Please join me in welcoming my guest tonight, Mr. Joe Newman. Joe, welcome to the Post Route, my man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's a blessing. I appreciate it. I appreciate the
Man,
kind words.
man, let me tell you, it ain't hard when it's all true.
And that means a lot, man. You saying that means a whole lot to me. I appreciate that, man.
Well,
Seriously.
let me tell you, when I first found out about you, man, I think I told you this, man, and you told me you were coming on the show. I went right to work and started pulling up all these guys that played quarterback, black quarterbacks at Wofford. And man, when I finished with that newsletter I put together, I'm like, oh man, it's a good list of these guys doing some
Yeah.
things. And I got to go back to the first black quarterback up there for Wofford, man, Sean Graves. Had you ever met Sean Graves?
Hats off to Sean Graves, man. Heck of a guy. Heck
Is
of a
that
guy. I've
right?
got a chance to meet with him a couple times. Yeah, he
Okay.
he goes back to campus for ball games a lot.
Is that right?
Yeah, so I'll see him. Yeah, you'll see him around every now and then if you go back to campus often enough. But I mean, I appreciate him on so many different levels, and he was kind of a mentor for me when during my time there, and was able to kind of steer me in the right directions with some
Yeah.
good words and some things like that. So I appreciate Sean for real, and he heck of a ball player too. Like you said, man, he's one of those guys for real.
Well, anytime I find out about the guys who were the first black quarterback in these schools, depending on when they impacted that school, man, it's always a great story to hear about that experience for them. I had two teammates that were the first black quarterbacks at the University of Florida back in the early 70s. And that was just when the South, schools in the Southeastern Conference and other schools throughout the South were just starting to have these guys come in. And, socially, from a social standpoint, man, it was a challenge. I know Sean came in the late 80s and early 90s, but still, when you're the first one, man, you're that pioneer. And the challenges that you face, folks may not think about it, but they're there. So you always have to, respect that, because they might have gone through some things and laid that groundwork so that when Joe Newman got there, Joe didn't have to go through what I went through. So I'm glad to hear
Amen.
that you got a chance to meet him, man, and to hear that he's such a quality guy.
Amen. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
nothing but good things to say about Sean.
So now, up in that Southern Conference, man, talk a little bit about what that's like up there, man, because I know you guys play some strong football up there, man. I know a lot of people don't
Yeah.
hear about Wofford. I'm a little bit more familiar about Wofford basketball than Wofford football, simply because I got a chance to uh, interact with the basketball coach who used to be there when Wofford came to Jacksonville for the regional tournament. But I had a lot of respect for the fact of what they were doing and the fact of how he carried his team and the way they carried themselves. So it kind of just lets you know the quality of program that athletic department has. So what was it like
Yes,
up there,
sir.
man?
Oh, well, competitive football for one.
Yeah,
High standards all around. Or just talking about, the Wofford way, as we call it. I mean, from the athletics to academics, I mean, the bar's gonna be set high, and you have no choice but to reach that bar. And that's just kind of how the culture was set before I got there, and that's how the culture is, still to this day. But I mean, Southern Conference football, I mean, you talk about Chat, Citadel, Furman,
yeah,
Mercer,
yeah.
all these guys that are heavy hitters in FCS football. These are conference teams. We're playing these teams, year after year. And so I mean, it's competitive football, man. Any D1 player that or high school kid that thinks he has what it takes to play at that level, I think that SoCon to really show you what Division 1 football is about at that level.
Well, being familiar with Division One AA or FCS as they call it now, man, to just see how many teams have just grown into that level of college football, and I know some of them have moved on, man. But the competition, man. I mean, when I look at some of the things that you did, Sean did, going to Division 2 playoffs, you taking the Terriers to 4 straight playoff berths, man. I mean, that in itself is some work, man. I mean, that ain't nothing easy to accomplish. Somebody's doing some work.
Hey, I'm telling you, it's a credit to the culture, man. I was fortunate enough to come in with a really good class.
Okay.
And just the classes before me, I mean, they just you get on campus as a young guy, and you're looking for the older guys to kind of show you the ropes. And I mean, they did exactly that, and it wasn't all just, they kind of had the social piece of it and also the work piece of it. Like they really showed you how to make that balance, and I think that's kind of why we were able to have so much success. You look at that 2020 class, I mean, we got lucky. That class of 18 or 16 and 17 that we
Yeah.
came in with. I mean, those guys are standard guys, I call them. Like those guys set the standard.
Yeah.
You know, a number of those guys I can name right now, but it's just a credit to them and the coaching staff and all the work they've put in to build and cultivate that culture that they have now. And we were blessed. We're definitely blessed.
What made it easy for Joe Newman to make the decision to go to Wofford?
Um, that's a great question. I'll tell you one thing for sure. Um, the coach is building a relationship with my parents. I think my mom was committed before I was,
Okay.
and so yeah, and so we got on campus and she loved it and I loved it. I definitely felt like I had a relationship with Coach Lang and Coach Fuke, started that recruiting process with me and Coach Romero, it's doing an amazing job right now. Coach Ayers, the legendary Coach Mike Ayers,
Okay.
Coach Brown, all these guys that, really made it a point to build a genuine relationship. And, it felt like home, and the best advice I received during my recruiting process was, you want to go where you're wanted,
Right.
and they definitely made me feel wanted and they made me feel like, there was a real family atmosphere that they were building. And um, all in all, I think, I definitely made the right decision.
Well, Joe, let's just be real clear and transparent about this, because a lot of times these young men in high school, they make decisions about what they perceive to be what might be a good fit for them, or what they perceive that somebody has kind of gotten in their ear and told them they're this and that. But when we talk about mentoring a young man in the process of making the right decision about a place where they need to take their talents, uh, what would you say to young men who are kind of on the fence, or they can't really figure it out? What would be some of the things you would tell them they really need to zero in on? Because, like you said, well, when coaches make that relationship with mom and dad, or just mom, yeah, they've done a good
Yeah.
job. But sometimes, guys don't always listen to that, or they think that, well, going here, I'm going to do that. And it's like, dude, you're not the only guy they bringing in. They got 3, 4 other running backs, some wide receivers, a lineman. So what would you tell some of these young men uh, in honesty about
Mm,
that recruitment process to help them make the best decision?
that's a great question. I think for one, that young man needs to have his head in the right place, right? In terms of, okay, so when you talk about choosing a school, I mean, you want to go to college and have fun. You want to enjoy your college experience, but I mean, it ain't a whole lot of fun if you ain't winning ball games, right?
True.
And so if you're going into it thinking about, which visit was the most fun, or which school seems to be lit the most, or just you don't have the right things in mind, right? You need to kind of gear more towards, okay, what's the strength and conditioning program like? Like how is my strength and conditioning coach, right? How is my head coach? What do people around the facility have to say about this head coach? How is the interaction with the head coach and between myself and my parents? You
Right.
know, can I see myself winning here? Can I see
Mm-hmm.
myself developing here? Right? Think all these kinds of things are things that you need to keep in mind, and not just necessarily, about having fun and what place seems the most fun. Those things are important, but I don't think it definitely doesn't come before, your own development and you progressing forward in your career. Um,
You brought up a very interesting point just now that I want to just target in on, because not every program in high school is a winning or successful program, although they do have outstanding athletes. They just weren't in a winning program. So now
Right.
here's a guy who didn't play in a winning program. He's an outstanding athlete. And now he's really trying to figure that part out about whether he can win where he's going and how they feel about him. Uh, is that something that a recruit could really ask a coach?
Um, I think it's definitely a valid question to ask. I mean, there's
Okay.
nothing wrong with asking a coach where he sees the program going. Now, keep
Sure.
in mind, I mean, no college coach is going to talk badly about their program,
Right.
regardless of what stage they're in. But I mean, ultimately, I think it's up to the recruit to, take in what the coach is saying. Not just take what he's saying, but also look at the signs, right? If you're able to see how guys train, that'd be good to see. And, if you're able to see how guys react to adversity during game day situations, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How are the interactions in the locker room after,
Mm-hmm.
a game, whether it's a win or a loss, things
Right.
of that nature, right? And then how is the coach, the head guy, and how are the assistant coaches building these guys back up, right?
Yeah.
All these things, I think you have to kind of to be able to weed some things out and really get to the nitty gritty when it comes to, what state is a program currently in, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what's the culture actually like? Like, what is it like to actually be in these pads and play for this university itself? So
Well,
it's tough sometimes.
I'm sure it is because when you don't have someone to mentor you through that process or to just really just tell you like it is. I mean, and
Right.
I agree, no coach is going to put his program down, and I don't expect them to, but I do expect them to be honest with the kid and say, well, you know what, young man, you know what, Joe, we haven't had any success the last couple of years, but we are on the rise. We're looking forward to some things, and we know you can help us. You know,
Right.
okay, all right, you say I can help you, coach. Okay, I'm gonna go with that because unless something doesn't work out, I'm gonna believe that. And it's unfortunate sometimes when coaches, get better opportunities and they brought a guy in, and then the next thing you know, they're going somewhere else. And some guys, they've bought so much into a coach, that coach leaves, they follow him.
That's fair. It happens time and time again, but I think you also brought up a good point as well. That you also want to recruit the right type of player, right?
There we
Like, you
go.
want a guy that's
There we
up
go.
for that challenge. You don't want a guy that's kind of looking to go into a situation where he's got everything made for him, right? And so
Right.
just being able to, figure out if kids are used to adversity and used to having to work for what
Yep.
they have, right? You want those are the kind of guys that are ultimately going to come in and be program changers.
As a current coach now, is if you were in the stands and there was a guy you were actually looking at, I know the athletic part is there, but are you checking out his demeanor when he comes off the field and how he acts, how he talks, what he's doing? Because a lot of times guys don't think coaches are looking at that part. They just think it's about the talent. And me, I'm looking at how you conduct yourself because that's what is valuable to me. We know the talent is there, but like you said, adversity, tough situations, um, how you deal with a teammate that's acting a certain way. Those are the things I look for. And I'll tell you, when I was announcing it at my high school, I remember a guy who was a quarterback. And, my dad was the first football coach at my high school. So my roots are
Wow.
deep, right?
Wow.
He came off the field. He was a little dejected. And he just kind of threw his helmet down on the track. And, man, I was livid because I'm like,
Right.
that's not what we do at this school. We don't do that. you
Right.
know and those are the kind of things that tell me he wouldn't fit. He may fit your situation, your program. He's not going to fit mine.
Yeah, and it's funny. I'm kind of having a flashback because I was that guy, earlier on in my career when I was a younger guy and playing quarterback and trying to deal with all the the ups and downs of the game and stuff. And and looking back, I think that's kind of what showed me that okay, football is definitely the direction I need to go. To be able to have this much passion and this much care about that what I'm doing right now, it definitely shows that I'm in the right avenue. Um, and I think I kind of see some of that with recruits these days too.
Mm-hmm.
And not just at the quarterback position. I think at every position,
Mm-hmm.
you want to see that leadership and guys being able to channel their anger and their frustration in the right way. Um, you never want to see anyone taking their helmet, especially not out on the field. We're definitely not doing that. But there is a piece of me that does appreciate that passion, in them at least caring enough about what they're doing and not just being out there to be out there. But again, like you say, you have to kind of go back and let them know, like, hey man, this is not the time or place, to be showing out like that. Especially not with the court for quarterbacks, Um, that's it's one thing for your teammates, to be able to see you, throwing a fit like that, but that's bad for the fans and bad for the program. Like you don't really want to put that out on display ever,
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I kind of come from an old school background, man, so I'm sure you can relate to like, man, you guys that came back
Mm-hmm.
up in the 60s and 70s, man, y'all had coaches that didn't tolerate a whole lot.
Yep.
And my dad didn't tolerate a whole lot, man. It's like if he saw you doing something like that, you would basically be off the team right then.
Right.
Okay. He would tell you just take off his stuff and you have a nice day because he just wasn't tolerating that, man. I mean, it's about conducting yourself as you want these young men to conduct themselves because as you go
For
on in
sure.
life, you meet, like we were talking earlier, you meet a challenge in life, you meet a hiccup in life, you meet a bump in life. How you going to deal with
Right.
that? You going to throw a tantrum or you going to
Right.
deal with it in a different way? And that's where sports, I think a lot of times, man, makes such a big difference that people don't really understand why we talk about sports because sports does have a lot of life lessons to learn. And
Man.
whether your coach gives them to you or not, that game will give them to you. And how you deal with it, man, it's like you'll say, well, I remember when Joe was like this in high school, he's not like that anymore. Or you say, man, he acting the same way he was
Right.
acting in high school. He acting that same way now.
Yep.
Here it is 20 years later. He get all upset, man, and throw a fit.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the way, man. So I'm asking because I know as you are growing and you're working with these young men and you're looking for coachable guys, leadership guys, quality guys, man. I remember asking some basketball players, how do you what is leadership to you? And one of the things they say, well, I like to show my leadership as opposed to demonstrating it from something you might say or the way you can handle the situation. And that always like, I get the leadership part on the court, man, but how do you get your teammates to respond to you when you got to go to your teammate and tell them, hey, man, look, man, we not doing it like that. We not,
Yeah.
Guys want to challenge guys. It's like, I'm not challenging you because I don't like you, man, but we can't conduct ourselves that way.
Coach Kitchens, I'm telling you, you bring up I'm telling you, that's golden. What you're talking about right now is golden because these are the same conversations I have with our players now currently. And it's actually probably one of the first questions I got coming on campus. And just looking back previously in the past few years and Montana State Northern hasn't had as much success as they've
Mm-hmm.
wanted to have in the past. And guys were asking me straight up, like, Coach, like, how do we turn this thing around? And it's those leadership parts, like those times where you guys may be going through a tough part of the game and things may not be looking up right now, and it's ultimately going to be your teammate that comes to you and says, hey bro, I got you, right? That linebacker or that corner that comes to the receiver
Yep.
that just dropped the ball, or that running back that just fumbled again, right? Like, hey man, don't worry, keep your head up, we're going to get the ball back for you, right? All that kind of stuff happens off the field. It happens now, right, in the
Right.
summer, right?
Right.
I'll tell you, when we first got to Wofford, I mean, my first summer job was with an inside backer, Datavius Wilson, an outside backer, Jara Wilson, and a running back. His name was Austin McPherson.
Okay.
And we were pressure washing the stadium from top to bottom, right? I hadn't met these guys yet. They were coming in the same class, but I mean, out there grinding in the hot South Carolina sun. I mean, these are the times that we're able to really grow and learn each other, right?
Hmm.
So when come fall time, when Jara comes over and says, "Hey, bro, I got you," like it hits a little different. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because
Yeah.
like we were
Oh
out
yeah.
there putting all that time in together.
Oh
So,
yeah.
that's kind of what, guys just need to get back to the social aspect of it, right? I mean, football is not football without that social aspect and building relationships, genuine relationships,
Yeah.
and so that's kind of where all that stuff, begins to happen.
Joe, where would you say you got some of those intrinsic values as a quarterback between high school and college? Where would you say you got some of those, whether it be a coach, whether it be the janitor? I know our parents are there, but where would you say some of those things came about for you that made a difference?
Man, just a little bit of everything. I honestly, I think growing up with some of those old-fashioned morals, as for lack of better words, and just always respecting your elders and being humble, things like that. But things that my mom has always instilled in me, and and I've always been self-motivated, and I've always been
Okay.
able to learn from other people's mistakes.
Yeah.
And so I think that was kind of the biggest thing for me was, always looking for ways to be better, whether
Yeah.
it's on the
Yeah.
field or off the field. And even still now, obviously I'm not perfect. There's still things that I'm working on with myself. But, as long as you stay in a growth mindset and just stay humble, you know, um, and ask questions, right? Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, and I say all this to, kind of a long-winded answer, but I think if you're just committed with the process, right? Just kind of stay focused with the process, right? Everything's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to
Yeah.
become that
Yeah.
player and you're not going to build character overnight, You just kind of have to stay with that day to day and just kind of learn to be 1% better every day.
Well, I think what you just pointed out was two things that guys really need to get some help in focusing in on. Number one, don't be afraid to ask a question.
For
You know,
sure.
there are no stupid questions. If you don't know the answer, you just don't know the answer. Ask a question so you can get the answer. So don't
Right.
be afraid. But a lot of guys, they scared to ask a question because they don't want to be laughed at. They don't want to look bad. But it's like, dude, I ask a question. 10 other guys are asking the same question. They just won't bring it out. And then
Right.
the other thing is, in addition to asking the question, make sure that you stay focused on what's important to your growth, because
Right.
those things uh, will definitely help you. You ask a question, and you want to know what's going on, and don't be afraid to make a mistake. Hey man,
Right.
we all make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. Do better. Don't keep making the same mistake. Do better.
Flat out. Flat
Okay.
out.
So
Right.
you keep throwing that out route, and something's not working, man. Mechanically,
Hmm.
something, I'm telling you, this is what you're doing, and you keep doing the same. Hey man, that's not gonna work. That's gonna be a reason why the coach gonna pull you out the game. I've told you. So ask questions. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, but make that adjustment and
Make the
get better.
adjustment.
Yeah.
That's the biggest, I'm telling you. Yeah.
Yeah. I had the first football coach I worked with when I was in college, man, he had an acronym MTA. Make the
Mm.
adjustment.
Yeah.
Make the adjustment. So those are the things that young guys, man, a lot of times our guys are scared to talk or scared to ask questions. But then as I'm looking at young men nowadays, man, coming up from middle school, man, these guys are becoming very polished and poised, and they're not afraid to speak up or to talk. And they just need someone to continue to mold them. And, Joe Newman is a guy who is molding guys for the future, not just for Sundays, but for life. So you keep molding them, and they will get better. And you get that phone call, "Hey, Coach Newman, this is on. So, man, let me tell you, I got a job doing such and such." Coach, it reminded me when you told me such and such when we were getting ready for this game. First thing came to my mind, boy, that sounds like Coach Newman.
All right.
And
By the
that,
grace of God.
okay, and that's what's important, man. So, yeah. So, Joe, stick with me, man. I'm going to take a quick time out. We're going to come back and chop a little bit more up and talk a little bit
Awesome.
more about this football and this quarterback thing when we come back.
Awesome. Sounds
Appreciate it.
good.
Hey, joining me tonight, my man, Joe Newman, Wofford College, one of the best Wofford ever had. You know, 3 conference championships, 4 playoffs, man. It doesn't get much better than that in your 4-year career. So we're going to come back to him. But while we're on this timeout, let me tell you, if you have not gotten it, you need to get you one of these quarter-five back shirts. These shirts are becoming a very popular item, and we want to make sure that you get one. The quarter-five back full logo t-shirt, $40 is all it costs. It's a full sublimation. Let me tell you, if you don't have one of these shirts, if you want a conversation, get you one of these shirts. I guarantee somebody's going to stop you and ask you, who is that on that shirt throwing that football? $40. You can order it through us. Just go to our email. We take Zelle. We take Cash App. 904-994-2189 is Zelle. $Q5 back 44 is our Cash App. Now, if you want to get on the golf course, let me tell you, get you the golf shirt. Again, these two shirts are things that people will talk about because they see you wearing them. It's just showstoppers. They're like, what is that? Who is that? What is that all about? They see that quarter-five back, and of course, they want to ask the question, what's quarter-five back? $55 for our golf shirt. Now, if you just want to be a part of what we're doing, let me tell you, get you the basic quarter-five back logo t-shirt. $25 is still the price we got on there, and all you got to do is send it in. It's made out of cotton with our logo on it, and it's a great shirt, wears very well, so you will love it once you get it. And then if you want to really step up your game, our quarter-five back warm-up is something that is very, very nice. Polyester nylon blend, wears very well. It's a heavy kind of warm-up orange and black with the logos on the pocket of the pants and on the front chest. You see the prices there, so you can get you one of those. Now, if you haven't gotten a gear, let me tell you what you need to do. If you don't get anything else, but get this book to add to your library, The Forgotten QBs, a little-known history, information, and statistics about black quarterbacks playing the American college football game. Get my book, $35. Again, everything is done on Zelle and via Cash App if you want to make that payment. But this book is full of information. I've had former Coach Butch McAdams from the D.C. area say it's like a Bible when you find out about these guys from 1903 to 1990. So that's what we got going. Help us out. And if you don't want to make a purchase, just send us a donation, either for your lifetime membership of $44 or whatever you want to do to help us out. We will accept that and be very grateful and thankful for it. We're going to get back to my man, Joe Newman, head coach at Montana Northern, up there in the great state of Montana by way of Wofford College. Hey, Joe, welcome back to the show. You made that transition from the Riverdale, Georgia, Atlanta area to North Carolina, my man. You have crossed the countries and crossed the mountains and landed in Montana.
Yeah.
Wow. So talk a little bit about what you got going out there. How long have you been on the coaching staff, and what positions are you coaching?
So I joined the staff in the middle of January of this year, top of this year. Right, currently I'm coaching the quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers. So I have all the skill guys there.
Okay.
Um, it's been um, it's been a journey, man. Just looking back from the end of my playing career to leaving football for a year and then getting back into coaching at the top of this year. It's been a blessing, but
Okay.
definitely a long journey.
Were you expecting this to happen, Joe, or you thought you were just going to be in kind of corporate America and football was pretty much over?
Definitely wasn't expecting it, man. I think kind of going back, graduating that spring of 2020 and going through the whole COVID spiel and then playing a
Mm-hmm.
couple stints overseas and
Okay.
and then ultimately playing arena ball for a year, then kind of dipping into coaching for a bit, but I think but previously my heart wasn't really set on coaching.
Yeah.
Especially last year of 2024, I kind of went into being a tax associate full time.
Okay.
I completely stepped away from football. for the majority of that year. And then it wasn't until the end of 2024, God was kind of tugging me to get back into coaching. And here we are. I started middle of January and haven't looked back since.
So Montana State Northern is it an NAIA or Division III, Division II?
NAIA, yes, sir. In
NAIA.
the
Okay.
Frontier Conference, yes, sir.
Okay.
Hmm.
Well, we get a little taste of the NAIA because one of our frat brothers, as we call them, played at Langston University
Awesome.
over in
I've heard of them.
Oklahoma.
Hmm.
And so we know a little bit about the NAIA through him and maybe one or two other guys, man. But the fact that I have, in doing some research, man, I found some guys from back in the day that did some phenomenal things at the NAIA level and winning championships. And it just surprises me that we don't know about NAIA because it's not mainstream. But with a guy like you being our conduit now, so now if we need to talk to somebody about what's going on in NAIA, hey man, let's call Joe, see what's going on, because
Hit me up.
those things, man, I think are important. And again, a lot of kids, they focus in on what they know, but when that door stops, I mean that doorbell stops ringing, that phone call stops. Where do I go now, coach? Well, hey, I never heard of your school, coach. Well, don't worry about that, son. You want to play football? Hey, that's all that matters.
That's it. That's it.
So,
That's it.
so do you do recruiting also, Joe? Are you having to do recruiting?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
We've had to.
Okay.
Yeah, we've pretty much been hit recruiting pretty hard
Okay.
since late January.
Okay.
To be honest, yeah. Right now I think we're somewhere close to 30 guys in this class here. And so we've got a couple more to grab here to really feel comfortable going into fall camp. But I mean, recruiting any college coach would tell you recruiting is pretty much a year-round deal. And so you'll be recruiting from January to January.
Okay. So when you are out looking at quarterbacks specifically, what are some of the things that you are drawn to that will fit your coaching style and fit your program? What are you looking for when you're looking at guys that you want to play for Joe Newman?
I think for one would be decision-making ability for sure. Um, and athletic ability kind of goes hand in hand with that. Obviously, we want someone that can throw it around a good bit and definitely have polished mechanics. But I think for sure decision-making ability and those leadership qualities, those intangibles are probably at the top of that list.
So tell me this, Joe, because now in this day and time, in this modern era of football, and I'm sure you probably grew up with it like I did, man. When we were playing in the backyard or playing in the neighborhood, our
Hmm.
quarterbacks were always dual threat guys. we
Right.
we didn't just have guys who just dropped back and that's all they did.
Right.
But in this day and time now, with the focus being more on dual threat quarterbacks, what kind of impact is that making on changing the landscape of the game now?
Um, I think it stems back from just being authentic, being a natural ball player, right? I mean, I don't think there's a coach in the country that wants the robot back there as their trigger man. You want somebody that can, get you out of tough situations sometimes if that time comes up. And someone that can honestly just go out and cut it loose, right? Just go out and play ball.
Yeah.
And so someone that can improvise and that can kind of go with the flow of the game whenever things are, subject to change and kind of get you out of some tough situations if need be, then that's definitely someone that you'd look to get on your roster. And then even furthermore, with us being, our system, our style of play, being an option-based team and being able to spread the defense
Mm-hmm.
horizontally,
Mm-hmm.
you want someone that can kind of take advantage of that space.
Okay. What are your thoughts about guys being quarterbacks that are asked to transition to play a different position? What are your thoughts about that? Black
Um,
quarterbacks specifically,
Good
because
question.
That's where it seems to happen. It's been happening for a long time, but when you see that happening in today's time, you have to wonder why is that always the case?
Um, I mean, I think again, it just comes down to, trying to put your best athletes in the best possible situations.
Yeah.
Um, I think sometimes, a more athletic quarterback could fit a different system, or sometimes your system may call for someone that um maybe a bigger, um more prototypical style quarterback.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but I think for that kid that maybe is looking at having his position changed, I think that he should, probably just for one take it as a compliment. Don't feel disrespected by someone asking you to change positions, because if you're a quarterback and someone's seeing your skill set also being able to be utilized in a different part of the field or a different position, I think it says a lot about your athletic ability, right? And so, just leading with humility and just being grateful that someone's seeing your skill set in a different light. Doesn't mean you necessarily have to go for it, but I think that if you believe that your skill set is fit for a certain position, then go out and prove to yourself that that's what you need to be playing, right?
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that analogy, because sometimes it's just got to be that way, man. You're just going to have to make that switch. And I asked the question simply because uh, I've grown up watching opportunities for guys who should be quarterbacks not happen simply because they were almost mandated,
Right.
if you will, to switch out and play a different position. But in this day and time, let me tell you, I'm looking at kids in middle school, man, and I don't think a lot of them gonna go for that transition thing, man. They've been going
Yeah.
to camps. Hey Joe, they've been going to camps in 7th grade, 8th grade, and they all the way through high school, man. It's like, dude, I'm a quarterback. Like Lamar
Right.
Jackson told him, I'm a quarterback, man. I'm that transition part is not happening. And
N-
I think as I see more quarterback coaches who look like you and me, who are grooming these young men to be quarterbacks, man, I think them believing and having confidence in their abilities. True,
Yep.
there will probably be some that may have to transition, but again, if that's what you are and who you are, sometimes you just got to stick to your guns, man, and say, "Hey, that's what I am." So if transitioning, hey, coach, I'm sorry.
I mean, it's that. Yeah.
Right,
You
right.
hit the hammer on the nail right there.
You
Yeah.
know, I need to find a different program, coach. If you want me to switch out, can't do it. I've been playing quarterback for 8 years. What are you talking about? I don't know nothing about, coach. I know about quarterbacking, coach. I run a 4.7.
Right. But ultimately, right, it just comes down to, like you say, just trusting in yourself, right? Trusting
Right.
in who you are, right? I mean, looking back, I've had a number of coaches tell me, I should change positions.
Okay.
I've had a
Okay.
coach flat out tell me that I was too small, I wasn't going to get recruited to play quarterback. Right. And
Right.
that was going into my junior year of high school.
Right.
Right. And I could have said, hey, man, you're right. I probably should look to change my position. Or, I can get back to the drawing board. I can get back in the lab and just kind of work on sharpening those tools. Right. And make myself a better quarterback. And so, I mean, that's ultimately what I did. I kind of took it as a challenge and used it as motivation. And I went out there and did all I could do.
Well, we are definitely thankful, man, that you took it upon yourself to do all you could do, man, because you definitely proved that your skill sets and your abilities were definitely in place for you to do that. And like I said, nowadays, because there are so many additional opportunities at the pro level, not just the NFL or maybe the Canadian Football League, but now you got all these teams in the Arena League that you can speak to these guys on. Yeah, it's not the best situation. It's not the money, because I think kids get caught up on that money thing sometimes. But being a quarterback playing this game when you're done, man, you might can transition into being a coach. You can
Right.
at whatever level. So it's other things that come from doing this. You got leagues around in Mexico, Japan, Europe, Germany.
Europe. Yep.
So they're all over the place, man. But you still got to compete. You still
Right.
got to compete. And if you're not a competitor, if you don't know how to compete, and that's something, Joe, you might want to talk a little bit about too, is understanding how to compete to be in the top one or two guys at your position. How do you learn how to compete, man? What can I do, coach, to become a better competitor?
I think that's another great question, man. And I could sit here and tell you like it's just got to be in you. If it's not in you, it's not you. But that's not always true. I think that I think it ultimately stems from humility. Because one of the better things that I've heard someone say is that there's always going to be someone better than you, right? And so
Absolutely.
if you understand that, then why not look to pull pieces from their game, people that are around you that are better than you? Why not pull from their game and try to see if you can't implement it into your own, right? Or just kind of, you know, strategically put yourself around people that are better than you and challenge yourself to rise to their level of play, right? I mean, that's the only way for you to ultimately get better. So that's kind of my 2 cents with it. Just be humble enough to say that someone does something better than you, and know that you're in a position to also make yourself better by being around them.
Hey, Joe, what was that quarterback at the professional level, man, that you really took a liking to or wanted to emulate, or just that was your guy? Who was that guy for you?
It's funny. I think it changed year by year. Every year it was no, seriously. It's funny you asked that because every year there was always somebody that I was like trying to emulate. Like I was like, okay, this year I'm pulling from Cam Newton, right? Like it was like it went from Cam Newton being one year, Robert Griffin definitely earlier in my high school career, Marcus Mariota
Okay.
was somebody I was watching a ton. Um, I mean, just those are just a few of them I can name right now. Um, who else did I like? Um, yeah, those are probably the biggest ones I'd say earlier
Okay.
on.
Okay. Because in growing up, man, of course, we didn't have the luxury of being able to see quarterbacks who look like ourselves. But even if I had, man, I had one guy that I just thought he was the most phenomenal quarterback ever, and that guy's named Johnny Unitas. And
Okay.
that guy, man, I just looked at his skill sets and the way he managed games and stuff, man. But he was just that guy. But
Yeah.
and looking at some of these old school guys, another guy, Joe Namath.
Joe
Uh,
Namath he was bad man.
hey, man,
Bad man
Joe
right there.
Namath. Joe Namath put pretty on football players, man. With the white shoes. There wasn't no white shoes till Joe Namath came along, man.
Right.
He's like, oh man, he looked good out
Right.
there. I think the first
Yes,
black
sir.
quarterback that really took our attention might have been Joe Gilliam, that played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. And but it was a guy before him. But just watching these guys and what they do, man. Montana, Dan Fouts, Ken Stabler,
Hmm.
uh, Terry Bradshaw,
Steve
Roger
McNair was big for
Staubach.
me.
Yeah. Oh man. Now you talk about a phenomenal guy. That guy there, man, was off the chain. Off the chain, man. I mean, and
Yeah.
his career, man, at Alcorn State, I don't care what nobody says, he could play.
Yeah.
He could flat
Without a
out
doubt.
he could
Without a
flat out
doubt.
play, man. So just watching him, man. But I always like to ask that question, man, because everybody's got a different answer. Everybody's got somebody different. They kind of emulated or like, a lot of guys, they say number 7 or Michael Vick. Yeah. I said, but Randall Cunningham was around way before Michael Vick. And like, really?
Yeah. Let's talk about it.
Man, Randall
Let's
Cunningham,
talk
oh my,
about it.
at about 6'4", agility, arm,
Hmm.
and could run. Oh my God.
Everything. Right.
Everything, man. Everything. So there have been some guys, but I never hear them say, well, like Warren Moon. It's like, dude, Warren Moon was off. Man, Warren Moon was that deal, man. So it's
Man.
been a lot of guys, man. But when we talk about these black quarterbacks, man, and that's why I feel that what I'm doing has been a mission sent down from heaven above for me to do this, man, because I can go back from my days of growing up. I think about a guy by the name of Jimmy Ray from your home state, North Carolina. Not your home state, but where you play football. Jimmy
Okay.
Ray. Jimmy
Jimmy
Ray
Ray. Okay.
played. He was the first, not the first black quarterback. He played at Michigan State in the
Okay.
60s. And he became the first starting black quarterback at Michigan State and led them to a national championship.
Okay.
I
I
saw
got to
him
do
on
my
TV.
homework on Jimmy.
Yeah, I
Okay.
saw him on TV, man. And anytime that happened, you're like, that's a black quarterback. Who is that guy, man? And all of a sudden, you become the fan.
Yeah.
Uh,
Right.
he followed him and then Jimmy Jones at USC, man. So it's been quite a few. And like I said, over the years, man, you can call these guys names out. Another guy, Andre Ware, was a phenomenal quarterback. So it's a lot of guys. It's a ton of guys that we just either don't know about, don't hear about. And like I said, as I continue to do this research, man, I keep finding guys. And I'm just, I get excited because it's like more. It's just more and more. So
Too
just
many
like
to name.
yeah, it's too many to name. But you know what? We're going to do our best to name all of them, man.
For
Just
sure.
like when I look at this list of guys from Wofford, well, you start with Sean Graves, but then there was a Travis Wilson, a Charles
Travis.
Collier, Amari Odom. You look at these guys and say, man, well, that's y'all's legacy.
Right.
Y'all all standing on the shoulders of, somebody else. And these guys are important. I think when we don't know our history, Joe, we lose a lot, man. I mean, we truly lose a lot. So imparting
Right.
that wisdom and knowledge to these young men, man, because as I look at the photographs of you guys on this page, man, it's like, man, all of these guys went to this school and they did something. Well, a lot of guys went to school and did something. And we just need to make sure we note that, because a lot of times out of sight, out of mind, it's like, well, I had never heard of this guy.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I never heard of Joe Newman until. But I'm glad that I was able to make a connection, man, because it just lights me up, man. It's like Christmas talking to you guys all the time, man. I just love it. I just love it. So going forward, I know that Montana State Northern is not your final stop. If you could be any place going forward, where are you looking to try to land going forward? I know that might be too far down the road, but then again, you have to think about it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can pinpoint an exact location of school, but
Yeah.
just ultimately somewhere where the culture fits, um in terms of just morals, and people, the community genuinely caring about the school
Yeah.
being active in the community, and somewhere that has a winning culture, somewhere that we can go and win, and ultimately just pour back into the kids.
Head coach,
You
man.
know.
Would head coach be out of the realm?
Oh man, I if it's in God's plan, man, I'll just,
I
if it's in
love it.
His plan, for sure,
I
yeah,
love
for
it. I
sure.
love it. I love it. Hey, when you were at Wofford, did y'all have an FCA huddle when y'all were there? When you were there, FCA huddle, Fellowship of
FCA
Christian
huddle.
Athletes, Fellowship of Christian
We
Athletes.
did. I know we went to a couple retreats.
Oh my goodness!
They were like a ton of fun. Can't remember.
Oh,
I'm blanking on where it was right now, but I don't know if Wofford had one for sure. I'm sure they did, but that had to be. That's where who we went along with the trip with, on that trip with. But
my only summer camp for FCA that I went to was up in the Blue Ridge Mountains, man, of Virginia. And let me tell you, that's like you said, that's God country up there in those mountains, man. It's so
Yeah,
beautiful up there and peaceful and relaxing. But that particular organization has a tremendous impact on the lives of young men and women who want to live their lives by the way God lived his life and put that in them. So I was just curious
for
because
sure.
I know that I see the tattoo you got on your arm that says "Fear God," and
Yes,
it came
sir.
to mind. Yeah, that just came to mind because, man, that impacted me I think I might have been like 15 years old. And man, it just hit me like a rock,
Yeah.
to experience that, man, every day, waking up, singing songs and going to service and seeing things, man, and just the camaraderie. So, you have those things. And then when I used to see guys come together after games to kneel and pray, I always thought
It's
about
different.
Fellowship of Christian Athletes, man, because, hey, after the game, man, you guys are brothers, or we're brothers. After the game is over, okay, man, we're going to pray and give thanks. But that just always hit me like, man, that's, for those who don't know about it, it's just one of those fantastic things, man, that you need to experience it just to understand it. If nothing else, and go to a camp one summer, man. So I was just curious if you guys had a huddle, and how often you had gone to a Fellowship of Christian Athlete summer camp.
Man, and it's funny. I'm mad that I can't remember where we went.
Yeah,
Um, but I know that there was this guy, I believe his name was Will, and he was reaching out to some of the players to see if we wanted to go along on the retreat.
yeah,
But I don't remember there being a FCA group
right,
along with our campus. But we definitely got the opportunity to go to one of those retreats with
retreats,
a
yeah,
ton of other schools there, and
okay,
just be able to pray and do some fun activities and get to know people and kind of grow in your faith there.
yeah,
Like that, a ton of fun.
yeah, yeah.
Ton of fun. Yeah.
I can imagine what it would have been like to go to a retreat, man, and Reggie White would have been there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the former defensive
Right.
lineman. Because man, that guy was a beast, but
Right.
he was so spiritually filled, man. So I can just imagine what that was like. So all these experiences, Joe, man, that's why I said, man, I never met you before, man, but I could just feel the kind of person you are, man, and just knowing that kind of came to me in my spirit, and knowing that, man, this guy, I know he's a quality guy, man, and just knowing that
It means a
when we
lot.
first spoke, man, it just came to me. So I just felt comfortable in just talking to you about these kind of things, man, because I know you're out there doing not only the work that you've been assigned as a coach, but as the man from upstairs have been assigning you and giving you the task to do, man. So you keep teaching these young men, man, because that's the other part of your mission, is for you to grow them up.
Amen. Amen. I appreciate that. It means a lot. That honestly means a ton to me.
Well,
Seriously,
you're
that means a
most
lot
certainly
to me.
welcome. Well, Joe, I'm at the part of the show, man, that I love to do, man, that outside of just having a conversation, man, it is indeed my sincere honor and privilege to tell you, by you being on the show tonight, man, I would like to welcome you to the brotherhood of Quarterfied Back as one of our newest fraternity brothers in this Quarterfied Back family, man.
Yes,
Congratulations.
sir.
We are glad to have you in, man.
I appreciate it. It's an honor. It's an
Absolutely.
honor. I
Yeah,
appreciate it. Let's
absolutely,
go.
man.
Let's go.
Indeed. So as you continue to do your thing, man, if you run across anybody that you feel that you would like to introduce them to the fraternity, man, and get them to come on the show, man, we welcome that. All you got to do is say the word, and they basically can be on, because any brother who tells us that, man, we bringing them in. So congratulations so much, man, and we looking forward to working with you. And we're going to stay in touch this upcoming football season, my brother.
Yes, sir. Most definitely will. Most
Let me
definitely will.
throw that Q5 back fraternity symbol up there so you can see what that thing look like,
Yes,
man.
sir.
Yes, sir. That's what we are
Yep.
now.
I love it.
Okay.
I love it. I love it.
Q5B.
Love it. Love where
Q5B.
this show is going, man. This is awesome what you're doing. Just shedding light on black quarterbacks, and being able to just get on here and just talk about our experiences. I think this is awesome. I can't
Okay.
say enough about this show, man. I'm honored to be on here, and I'm hopefully willing to, wanting to come back,
We'll get you
later
back.
on down the line, it's,
We'll get you back.
you know,
We'll get you back. So until the next time, Joe, man, you stay blessed. You stay safe, man. Safe travels back to Montana. My indeed a sincere pleasure. And best wishes to you and the family until next time.
yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Well,
Appreciate it.
everybody, that was my man, Joe Newman, by way of Riverdale, by way of Wofford, now in Montana State Northern. That's going to do it for us tonight. So until the next time, as we always say, go deep and go for the bomb. Catch you guys next time.